Last weekend, the Champions Clash finally happened, and it didn't disappoint. Unfortunately, due to the LAN being held in China, the time zones for the broadcast were pretty brutal. And if you're like me and the games didn't even start until 1 a.m., you probably missed a bunch of the games. I love OWCS, but I am not screwing up my sleep schedule for this. Luckily, replays exist, so today, I'll be going over the Champions Clash, talking about the matches, and going over some of the best plays of the tournament. Before we get started, if you like my stuff and you want to support me, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment down below telling me what your favorite moment from the Champions Clash was. I also have a Twitter and a new TikTok. Links in the description, so go follow me over there. This stuff really helps me out and is always appreciated, allowing me to make more Overwatch esports content for you to enjoy. With that said, let's start with day 1, which aside from one match, was mostly business as usual. The first round games were first to 2, so naturally they were pretty quick. Crazy Raccoon and Nightmare dealt with Space Station Gaming and TCC in easy 2-0 fashions, and once again quickly established themselves as a real threat by beating Virtus Pro with a surprising 2-0 game. The real surprise of round 1 though came in OWCS versus Team Falcons, where after a Falcons win on Lijiang, OWCS were able to win Saravasa 3-2, mostly due to Labda's explosive Sojourn play, which I think caught a lot of people off guard. Labda has broken away from the idea that he is just a Pharah 1 trick, and instead, he is now a Pharah and Sojourn 2 trick. But hey, at least Sojourn is actually a good character, so he was able to do his best Stalker impression and put his team on his back. Speaking of Stalker, he was pretty pissed off that Labda was stealing his thunder, so on Runasapi, Team Falcons put belt to ass on OWCS, outscoring them 141 meters to 7 in a nasty beatdown and moving on to the next round. At this point on day 1, it was already about 6 a.m. for my time, and I fell asleep long ago. But luckily, I didn't miss much. These matches were elimination games, and Space Station Gaming kinda dismantled Team CC, winning in a pretty clean 3-0 fashion, and they were just simply the better team. Ilios was a dogfight, but Sugarbrawn was able to help push his team over the edge, and from there, it was just business as usual for Space Station Gaming. Seeker was able to clean up CC on Route 66, eliminating them in a nice 3-0. Despite the poor performance, it was still really nice to get to see some of these Chinese players. An early exit is brutal, but hopefully this won't be the last we see of these guys. As for the other elimination match, OWCS and Virtus Pro battled it out to see who is the best EMEA team, and no surprise, Virtus Pro re-established themselves as EMEA's #1 team in a pretty one-sided 3-0, eliminating OWCS in 7th and 8th place. Labda and Checkmate were really the only ones on the team putting up a fight, but Virtus Pro had them pretty securely beaten regardless. Despite getting eliminated first, this was still very successful for OWCS. This team that admittedly I didn't think had a chance before, and not only did they make the tournament, but they also took a map off of Team Falcons, and that's more than most teams can say. Solid performance from OWCS, and honestly, I'm really excited to see them in Stage 2. I think they've got a lot left in the tank. Moving forward to Day 2, now we really get into the meat and potatoes, as all the really good matches happen here. The first match of Day 2 was Nightmare versus Crazy Raccoon, and most people didn't expect anything crazy. But this match was one of the best of the year. This series started out as expected, with Crazy Raccoon taking Ilios 2-0 and getting a 1-0 lead in the series. Nightmare looked pretty solid, and they made the map a lot closer than I thought it would be, but no one was prepared for the Zera takeover. On King's Row, Nightmare had a really solid attack, and an opening kill from Kuffa onto Shu and the follow-up onto Chorong allowed Nightmare to cap point A and get a very large time bank for the rest of the map. Nightmare were able to use that time bank to full cap in overtime, and the win condition to take a map from Crazy Raccoon was set. On Crazy Raccoon's offense, they managed to cap B in overtime, giving them only a minute and a half to cap C, and Nightmare weren't about to let this opportunity pass them by. A huge overclock from Lethal takes out Hiseng and Chorong, and just like that, Nightmare take a map off of Crazy Raccoon. However, if you thought that one map off of Crazy Raccoon was crazy, Nightmare were looking to keep the train rolling onto New Queen Street. However, the Junbin ball stood in their way, and immediately he made a difference, knocking Kuffa off the map in the opening fight. This was certainly not the way they intended this map to start, but Nightmare was unfazed. After Crazy Raccoon nearly capped the checkpoint, Nightmare were able to shut down Lip's Nano Tactical Visor, which was certainly a blast from the past. Kuffa essentially just kind of bullet sponged the entire thing, and Ultraviolet and Admiral really clutched up and kept him alive. allowing for Admiral to rally and for Nightmare to get bot control. This was just some great work from the Nightmare supports, who were an underrated part of this team. A few minutes later, it seemed like Nightmare just won a fight, but Lip decided that he's got the easy 2v5 and pops his tac visor, before getting shoved in a locker by Admiral. I love Lip, he's the Overwatch GOAT and everything, he's one of my favorite players, but I can't excuse that one. Crazy Raccoon goes from one disaster to another, and as Nightmare capped the point, Heesang gets staggered like crazy, giving Nightmare the lead, and they would not look back, winning a second map on Crazy Raccoon, and all of a sudden, they were on match point to get this upset. During all of this, I was actually asleep, since, being up till 2 AM was just not a good choice for my health, but something inside me could feel the upset in the water, and I randomly woke up in the middle of the night just in time for map 4, which was Route 66. My sleep-deprived ass was so confused that White Nightmare was up 2-1, but I watched every second of this map with eager eyes. To say that Zero went nuclear in this map would be an understatement. A few months ago, I made a video on players to keep an eye on, and Zero was at the top of the list. Call me Sir Night-Eye the way that I was straight up predicting the future. On Crazy Raccoon's attack, Zero was putting them in a pack, but Kuffa was not to be outdone, because right after Zero hit a nice pulse on Lip, Kuffa juggled a rallying Chorong right off the map and got follow-up kills onto both Shu and Heesang. Crazy Raccoon regrouped and they managed to cap both A and B in overtime, which did give them a small time bank for C. It kinda looked like Crazy Raccoon might do it, getting early kills onto both Ultraviolet and Kuffa, but Zira yet again proves that he is NA's last hope, and he hits a perfect 2k pulse bomb to help Nightmare hold the Raccoons on C, and in the following fight, he dispatches both supports with a straight up nasty melee recall, giving them a win condition to possibly upset Crazy Raccoon, which is not a sentence I ever thought I'd say. On Nightmare's attack, they managed to get C with over 3 minutes remaining. Crazy Raccoon drains their time bank, with a nice beat from Chorong stopping what would have been a game-losing fight. But as OT begins, Lethal gets an opening pick on a Junpin, and Crazy Raccoon fall. You would think that after that wild series, the other games would be a little less interesting, but you'd be wrong. The other upper bracket match, once again versus Team Falcons, went the distance. Ilios was pretty securely a Team Falcons win, although Leave made it very difficult with Genji plays like this. I mean, what on earth is he doing here? That is my GOAT. On Surafasa, we were treated to yet another Leave masterclass, helping his team to a 2-1 map lead over Falcons, before deciding to swap off of the D.Va Torb and mirror once again on the Winston dive. However, the Han Winston is just not it, as Mew, formerly known as Yveltal and Xerneas, boops the Primaling Han Winston off the map, securing a nice map win for once again and tying up the series. For map 3, we go to Runasapi, and this map was absolute cinema, going the distance as these two teams battled it out. Once again got an early lead, which was extended even more as Leave obliterates Geo and Stalker, who was midway through an overclock. However, their lead is quickly lost, as Team Falcons win several fights in a row, and once again look to complete the comeback in overtime. Guxue gets nanoed and Goomba stomps poor Fielder, and then once again are able to get a stagger onto Chio, and Team Falcons just weren't able to get back to the point to touch, and OA takes a shocking 2-1 lead in the series. On Circuit Royale, Shy opens things up with one hell of a nice overclock, obliterating Proper before he could even fight back, and helping clean up the rest of Falcons to take map 1. Shy saw everyone else hitting clips and decided that it was his turn to take the lobby over. However, once again barely manages to cap A in overtime, and Falcons hold them pretty securely on B. Falcons feel pretty comfortable since Hanbin is just getting to relax on one of his comfort picks, and on Falcons' attack, they were able to make nice work of OA and tie it up 2-2. Map 5 was East Barranca, and the energy in the stadium was wild. After a few fights, Guxue tears Falcons apart with the Primal Blade, getting a clean 3k and giving once again the checkpoint. Guxue continues his reign of terror by jumping right out of Hanbin's cage fight, which opens up the fight for another once again win, increasing their lead to 88 meters. After this, Leave hits another 2k bomb, as well as cleaning up Hanbin for once again to continue their absolute domination to this point in the map. However, looking at the replay, it appears that a mild amount of trolling was done, as Leave actually stuck Hanbin, who walked into both of his supports and gave Leave the freest 2k ever. Things seem amazing for once again, and surely they can't fumble this lead. But Mew decides to do his best Violet impression and Ajax, opening the door for Team Falcons, who win the team fight and leave once again without one of their best ults. With a minute and a half left, Falcons make a push, and with 4 ults available, they manage to string together multiple fight wins, and suddenly it's a final fight situation, as Falcons desperately claw their way towards that comeback win. Once again, can't touch, giving Falcons the lead with only 30 seconds left, and a very late kill on Shy pushes once again into their spawn, watching his Team Falcons build up even more of a lead. Once again, now have to push the bot in overtime, but Falcons hold them off and manage to clutch up, moving on to the winners finals to face off against NTMR. After 2 wild games in the upper bracket, the lower bracket was a little more chill. Crazy Raccoon took a 2-0 lead against Virtus Pro, but VP managed to take King's Row off of them, which seemed to piss Crazy Raccoon off, who went ballistic in map 4 and dominated poor Virtus Pro, full capping with over 5 minutes left, eliminating Virtus Pro in 5th and 6th. Despite the brutal ending, VP still played pretty well, and they were just kind of unlucky that they had to face Crazy Raccoon this early in the lower bracket. As for once again in Space Station Gaming, this series was a little bit closer, but once again felt like they were in control most of the series. Once again swept their way through Lijiang, and on King's Row, once again were able to full hold Space Station Gaming for a free 2-0 lead. And it kinda looked like Space Station were gonna go out sad, but on Circuit Royale, they were able to push past A and were almost going to cap B. But a nasty 3k barrage from Leave stopped them in their tracks, and gave once again a win condition. However, once again just couldn't put it together on their attack, getting full held as Space Station Gaming finally got on the board. Map 4 was East Barranca, and we finally got a close map. And at first, it seemed like the previous map win was gonna give SSG a boost, and they took a 78-meter lead before once again would finally stop their push. After 7 long back and forth minutes, once again we're only 8 meters behind, and in overtime. Once again, clutched up and took the map, securing the series and sending Space Station Gaming home in 5th through 6th. Once again would move on to face Crazy Raccoon in the final 4, but at this point it had been a really long day. For context, it was almost morning for me. I was about to start waking up at this point, and both Once Again and Crazy Raccoon were going into their 3rd series of the night, which is just brutal. Once Again looked exhausted, and honestly, this was just kind of an OWCS formatting problem. The fact that these teams had to play 3 series in one day is just kinda not fair. I do hope that the next LAN is a little more spread out, and these players aren't forced to play up to 12 or more maps in one day. Unfortunately for Once Again, Crazy Raccoon wiped the floor with them, with Once Again not taking a single point throughout this very fast 3-0 series. Crazy Raccoon looked angry, and I'm not really shocked after that upset from NTMR. This series unfortunately was not close, but Once Again still did amazing in this tournament. A top 4 finish is nothing to scoff at, and they really showed that even after a year of not being able to play in OWCS, the Chinese Overwatch scene is still as strong as ever, and I cannot wait to see them again soon. As for the Raccoons, they sit in lower bracket finals, waiting for the loser of NTMR and Team Falcons. Day 3 started with the upper bracket finals, which was a lot closer than the scoreline shows. Despite the upset against Crazy Raccoons early in the bracket, NTMR were unable to take down Team Falcons, who were really firing on all cylinders. This was a 3-0 for Falcons, but NTMR put up a serious fight, taking a round on control and making each map pretty close. On map 2, King's Row, NTMR pulled out the Shimada duo, and they took point A with ease after Lethal sent an arrow straight through Fielder's head at the beginning of the game. NTMR were able to push all the way to C and cap in overtime. However, Team Falcons saw that and said, "Nah, I'm better," and steamrolled through the whole map, capping with a whopping 3 minutes and 52 seconds left on the clock. They obviously capped A in overtime and went up 2-0. As for map 3, the map was honestly pretty close at first, but once Team Falcons got the lead, they never looked back, and they moved on to Grand Finals. NTMR fell down to the losers finals, and if you were hoping for a crazy rematch between NTMR and Crazy Raccoon, you're gonna be a little disappointed, as this series was kinda one-sided. NTMR still put up a solid fight, the best of any other team not named Team Falcons, but Crazy Raccoon, specifically Lip, was pissed after their previous loss, and they beat down Nightmare 3-0, including a full hold on Circuit Royale. Crazy Raccoon had brought their A-game, and honestly, they looked terrifying heading into Grand Finals. As for Nightmare, it was pretty cool to see them make it this far. I mean, they beat a Korean team. Despite going out in third place, they should definitely be proud. A lot of these players got to show everyone what they're made of. The backline of Ultraviolet and Admiral were silently going crazy all tournament long, and have really been showing that they are probably the best support duo in NA right now. Tuffa has slowly established himself as a top-tier tank, and Lethal showed everyone just how nasty his hitscan could be. As for Zera, he showed everyone that he just might be the best Western Flex DPS in the world right now, playing really well when it matters most. It's really cool to see Nightmare do this well, especially since they're somehow still not a partnered team. I'm really excited to see them in the next stage, and I look forward to seeing what else Nightmare can do throughout the rest of this season. I know this isn't the last we've heard from them. However, with all the non-Korean teams now eliminated, we get to witness the 21st duel between Crazy Raccoon and Team Falcons. If you include when Crazy Raccoon used to be known as WAC, Crazy Raccoon currently leads the all-time head-to-head 13-8, but Falcons were definitely favored to win this time. When these two teams play each other, you already know it's about to be absolute cinema. Map 1 was OWCS, and Crazy Raccoon took the first round off the back of some great shots from Lip, including this nice opening pick onto Chio, which means that Falcons have no orbital ray for the final fight. However, Team Falcons is actually the one who comes away with the map, with their Diva comp simply outclassing the dive, and they finish the third round by taking it 100-0. On Suravasa, Falcons continue their momentum by taking the first flashpoint with ease, but something in the water changes after that. It looks like maybe Falcons might take flashpoint 3, but while the Hanbinston attempts to primal on Lip, he pops his overclock and melts Hanbin, allowing Chorong to drop the beat, sweeping up Falcons and taking a 2-1 lead on Suravasa. Honestly, this map was mostly a Lucio diff, and Chio decided to beat really early on the 4th flashpoint to hopefully help his team take an early fight. However, Crazy Raccoon just waited out, and they even managed to get an opening pick onto Chio himself to take the point. Falcons fight back a little bit, but it was too little too late, and a pulse bomb from Hisang secures it for Crazy Raccoon, and they tie up the series 1-1. On Runasapi, Crazy Raccoon takes an early lead, taking the checkpoint and getting 74 meters early, which only gets worse as Hisang hits this nasty falling shot onto Stalker right as he pops overclock. Was this intentional from Hisang? Who's to say? Probably not, but it certainly helped give Crazy Raccoon firm control over this map. It looked like Crazy Raccoon were about to take a 2-1 lead in the series, but Team Falcons started stringing several fights together, including this huge opening pick onto Hisang by Stalker, which allowed Fielder to use a Kitsune rush and let Team Falcons capture the checkpoint. With only a minute to go, Stalker yet again clutches up by killing Hisang mid-barrage with his overclock, and he gets the follow-up onto Junbin to take the lead with under a minute left. Crazy Raccoon just didn't have enough time to take it back, giving Falcons a 2-1 lead in the series. On Route 66, this map was kinda all Crazy Raccoon. On offense, Shu was able to play his signature Ana, and the combo of him and Junbin's Winston allowed them to roll through A and B, but Falcons are able to stabilize on point C, which gives them a win condition. However, Team Falcons' attack was the lip show, as he cleaned them up with his OC and manages to get a 4K. Falcons were able to cap B in overtime, but Crazy Raccoon hold them on C and tie up the series 2-2. We moved to East Barranca for map 5, and Crazy Raccoon weren't fucking around anymore. They win 3 straight fights to take the checkpoint early. Hanbin tries to lock Crazy Raccoon down with his cage, but he just hits nobody. The only person Hanbin locked up was himself, and Crazy Raccoon simply walked away. A few fights later, Hisang drops behind Falcons for a clean 2K barrage, allowing Lip & Co to finish the rest of Falcons off to increase their lead even more to 90 meters. In the last minute, Junbin uses his Primal Rage to kill Proper before jumping back to his team and placing a perfectly timed bubble to get Stalker to kill himself with his barrage, extending Crazy Raccoon's way too much for Falcons to come back. Falcons attempt to win in overtime, but Crazy Raccoon hold them off and take a 3-2 lead, putting them on match point. Map 6 was Circuit Royale, and we got to see Max get subbed in for the first time in the Grand Finals for him to play Sigma. Proper was not about to go down without a fight, and he hits a pretty nice Genji 4K, helping Falcons cap A with a solid time bank remaining. Falcons continued their momentum in honestly a dominant fashion, straight up rolling through Crazy Raccoons like it was quick play. It looked like maybe Crazy Raccoon could get a fight going to hold them back right at the end of the map, but they didn't touch the point, and Falcons full cap with nearly 3 minutes left. On Crazy Raccoon's offense, they surprise everyone with Max on Zarya to counter Hanbin's Diva, and Lip on Cass, and surprisingly, this actually works. Hanbin ends up swapping to Zarya to match, which works fine until Team Falcon's C9 on point C, which allows Crazy Raccoon to cap with nearly identical time. In extra rounds, Crazy Raccoon manages to push it past A, and on Team Falcon's attack, Lip pulls out the surprise Symmetra pick alongside Heesang Torb and Pharah. And now it seems that Team Falcons got thrown off guard. Crazy Raccoon were proving to be a little bit too much for Team Falcons, and they win 4-2 to take down their rival and win the OWCS Champions Clash 2025. As a whole, this was a really good tournament, and it provided us with some actually really great games. It was a little difficult to watch since it was so late at night, but the actual tournament itself was amazing. I'm really excited for the upcoming stages, as I think we'll see a lot more surprises. With that said though, thank you so much for watching. If you've watched this far, you either like my stuff or you're asleep, so subscribe for more. I've got a Twitter and a TikTok as I just said, both links will be in the description, so go follow me there. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought about the Champions Clash and what you want to see from the rest of OWCS. As always, thank you for watching.